Hey guys, it's Mrs. Johnson. I just wanted to touch base with you guys and give you some help on today's work, the chromosomal abnormalities graph. So part one of your graphing activity today the chromosomal abnormalities graph that I asked you to do. So I know we struggle sometimes with graphs, so I wanted to give you a little bit of help. The paper that I sent is a PDF, so you're not going to be able to do it on the paper. You're going to have to do it either on notebook paper and just take a picture and submit it, or if you have a printer, you can print it out and scan it back in, but most of you probably just need to do it on notebook paper and then take a picture and submit. For your graph, I know we struggle on that, and remember the things that always need to be included on graphs. So starting number one with the title. So make sure you give it a good title, and a title that tells me what the graph is going to show you. So do the title last after you do the graph and you look at it, then come up with your title. Thinking about your X and Y axis. On your X axis, remember we often put time as a variable. So it's not always time, but often time. If we have time as a variable, it's going to be the Y or the X axis. And then remember on our Y variable or Y axis, it's the dependent variable. Okay, so we want to think about what is our, what is our dependent variable, and is time part of what the data is showing us. So look at the data table that I gave you and decide which thing goes where. As you're thinking about your graph, a lot of times we forget to put all the components of labeling. So tell me what the numbers represent. So when you decide what your numbers are going to be on your graph, what do those numbers represent? So give me a label. And then also make sure you include units. So how was that thing measured? And so that's the same for the X and the Y axis. So don't just put dash marks like I am, but I want you to come up with what is the number, what numbers are you going to put on the axis. Make sure you get a label and units. So all of those things on your each axis, both the X and your Y axis, make sure you put numbers, give me a label, and the units. If you don't do those three things, you're going to be wrong. Also, again, once you get the axes done, it's easier to write your title. So maybe you hold your title off until after you've done your axes. I know we also often have questions on whether we use a line graph or a bar graph. So typically, if you have, we call it continuous data, like something over a period of time, or you're measuring something growing and the change over time for growth, you would want to use a line graph. If you're doing something that has categories of things that are not related, like red, blue, yellow, different categories like that, you would use a bar graph. So in this case, I want you to think about what you decide goes on the y-axis and what decide goes on the x-axis. Is that continuous data that we can measure over a continuum, like time, or are those different categories that we see on the data table? So look at your data table and come up with a graph and make sure that you include all of those things. I hope this helps. If you have any questions, email me, send me messages. I'm happy to respond really quickly. And as always, everything that you do for this class is redoable. So if you submit something and you don't get a good grade on it, go back and redo it, and your higher grade is the grade that I'll take. So I'll talk to you guys later. Bye.